1969, when James Brett, who was a teacher at Northeastern High School and sponsor of its Ecology Club, visited in Aspen, Colorado, he was impressed with the Roaring Fork Braille Trail. When school reconvened in the fall, he suggested to his club members that they add a Braille Trail to the Oerwood Nature Center, where they had already developed 2 trails. In June 1970, Oerwood Braille Trail, the first of its kind in Pennsylvania, was dedicated after a few members of the York Jaycess Scouts, Mitch Galloway, who was then a blind student in high school, and Ecology Club members had given many tours, many hours of work in its development. In 1971, the Susquehanna Lions Club and the Oerwood Nature Center adopted the trail as a project and have since been responsible for its maintenance. The Braille Trail was designed to give the blind and partially sighted an opportunity to experience nature with some independence. Nature can be felt, heard, and smelled. Leaves, bark, birds, herbs, rocks, soil, sand, flowers, rippling water. Nylon ropes waist high kept the sightless on the wood chip trail and directs the walker to the signs and other points of interest. The anodized aluminum signs are mini lessons in Braille and large print. A small shelter is situated at the halfway point of the trail, and there are benches along the way. There is a small stream on the path, and a person has a choice of crossing it by bridge or stone. A large feeder and several birdhouses invite many species of birds to the area. A box is located in one spot, and in it are things of nature. None are labeled, and guests are encouraged to use their imagination.
This is the first plate that was on the trail, and it says, "Welcome to the Oerwood Self-Guiding Braille Trail." This is a cooperative effort of many citizens, all of whom are interested in having all persons enjoy the beauty of nature. You can feel safe as you walk along the trail because you will be guided by ropes that are on both sides of the trail. Signs along the way should help you to learn, and by doing so, appreciate. Thank you very much. Charles was really stretching my memory as I was thinking about it. That's 47 years ago. That's a long time. I don't remember how exactly I got involved with Mr. Brett, but at the time he was the head of the Northeast School Ecology Club, and they were the ones that kind of initiated the project. I went with him before any ropes or anything was put on the trail. We went out one beautiful spring day, and we walked where we thought the trail would be. And as we walked along, I can remember him pointing out the prints where deer had run by and raccoons by the water and things like that. It was really neat. It was just he and I, and it was a really memorable day for me. I was looking for an Eagle project for Scouts, and I took on the responsibility of bringing scouts out to the area to, we dug post holes and we strung rope and we cut, chopped trees that had been cut down and just a little bit of everything, spread mulch and all kind of different activities. And the unique thing about the trail was the different environments that you would encounter as we walked along. We started out in a woodland area and then moved into a stream and then up a hill. And I don't know, Steve, if that lean-to is still there, but there was a lean-to at the top of the hill with a bench in it where you could sit and enjoy the sounds. It was a beautiful location. And then we'd come back down the trail and went to the right, and that went around the meadow. So you heard the sound, different sounds and smells and flowers and birds that were in the meadow. So it was a really unique experience. I wish I could tell you that it was always busy, but it wasn't. One of our difficulties at that time was getting people from York to come out to the trail because there wasn't public transportation that would bring them out. But we did have a couple picnics. The York County Blind Center at the time. They had a couple picnics out there, and a number of the blind folks went out for that. We had, when I was in college, I spoke to a lot of Lions clubs and a lot of school groups. And one of the groups was, or schools, was Hershey School for Children. And I spoke to their biology class, mostly about blindness, but then also mentioned to them about the Braille Trail. And the teacher got very excited about it, and he said, I think that'd be a wonderful field trip. So they got a bus and loaded all the kids up, brought them down, and they walked the Braille Trail. And that was an exciting day as well. Gosh, I think my favorite part of the trail was in the beginning when you were in the wooded area because of all the birds that would be singing. And as you said, when you got to the stream, you had a choice. You could either go across the bridge or you could go down alongside the bridge and walk across the stream, which in the springtime was running pretty good. By the end of the summer, if we didn't have a lot of rain, it wasn't running very much at all. So that gave them the experience of being able to go down and actually touch the water and the rocks and the things that were there. So it was a very unique experience. I think from what I've read, Charles, from your research, it was the second one in the United States.
I believe so. It was the first one in Pennsylvania, I know for sure.
Yeah.
And it's one of the first, well, if not the second, it was, one of the top five.
Yeah.
Yeah, within the top five, yes.
Yeah. One of the things that I did was to go along with Mr. Brett and kind of point out to him the things that I was hearing and feeling. So when he made up the signs, we kind of did that together. He did most of the writing of it, and then he'd give it to me, and I took a piece of paper that would be the size of the plaque that you see there, and brailled out what he said so that we could make sure that it would all fit on that Braille plaque. And then the Pennsylvania Association for the Blind, they found out about the project, and they were the ones that actually sponsored having these signs Braille. I don't know where they had it done. I can imagine it was probably pretty expensive at the time. There was one part of the sign was in Braille and the other part was in print, so that sighted people could enjoy it as well.
Steve, how many of those do you still have left, or you found?
How many of the plaques?
Yeah.
I think it's around 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we bought the property, things were pretty deteriorated, and everything, looking at this map here, everything on the north side of Shady Lane, there were no trails, no plaques, there was nothing there that we saw that we could salvage, but everything, I guess on the south side, there were several posts still there, a lot of them laying down in the ground. It had been, sitting there for a long time without any maintenance. So we salvaged everything that we could.
They put a lot of man-hours into getting it made and making sure that it was maintained for a couple of years anyway.
School help as well?
The school help, yes, the school help. I don't know, they must have gotten more involved after I left, Charles, because I did not recognize any of those students.
Okay.
I didn't know that they had received a national award for the work that they.
There's a couple students in here that worked on it.
Oh, really?
Here.
Yes.
Yeah, neat.
Okay.
Now, you said you worked on it? I mean, you were involved with it?
Yeah, after I talked to you,
Mhm.
I actually got out some literature and yearbooks and stuff, and I figured out I was actually president of the Nature Club. I think I was 9th grade, 8th
Okay.
grade.
Okay.
So that's how I got involved around that time,
How many years were you involved?
like a year or two.
Okay. Weren't you involved?
I knew of it, but I wasn't.
Well, you weren't involved? No.
So I got-
Larry was.
And that's what I was gonna get to. So you were with Lions Club and you
I
took,
returned to town in '84 and probably started working on it in '85.
okay,
And I can remember probably no more than 10 years. And then they sort of stopped bringing the blind people out from the blind center, and it just sort of went away. And I can remember the trails you talked about. Mitch, I do not remember going back as far as the lean-to. I remember the bridge
Okay.
and the stream, and it sort of circled there
Yeah,
and
but
came back.
It did,
We
yeah.
put the mulch down every
Okay.
year, and we would clean it and tighten up the ropes.
Mhm.
But the lean-to part of it, that either was
Okay.
going then, or we just never went that far, or whatever.
Yeah, as soon as you crossed the bridge, there was a hill that went, you know.
I don't remember a hill at all in there.
Okay.
I remember it. I remember the lean-to.
Yeah, it just had a bench there that you could just sit and listen and hear sounds from a long distance.
it does
I
mention
graduated
it.
in '74, so if you backtrack, it's probably around '70.
You were a little behind me. I graduated in '71, and I was in the Ecology Club. And I remember Mitch. I remember you coming out when we were building it. Before people would go on the tours, we could send out to like trim back all the, branches that had grown since the previous week. We did a lot of clearing before the mulch got put down, a lot of, digging out roots and digging out the pathways with the Ecology Club kids. I seem to remember too, weren't there like knots in the string
Yes,
to tell you what was coming up? Okay, I remember that.
yeah, I forget, one knot meant one thing and two knots meant something else, and I don't remember what they were at this point. I think
one
one meant that there's something you could feel.
Right, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember what the two knots were for.
Maybe a sign.
Maybe a sign coming up, yeah.
Or listen?
Yeah. Well,
It's been mentioned in a few sermons.
oh, wow. Yeah.
And she did a few sermons.
Wow.
It wasn't always safe.
Yeah, I kind of snickered whenever I saw that it was safe on the trail. It wasn't so safe for me. I came to York through summer service and worked at Bethlehem Farm Day Camp, and Mitch was the director. And I was a counselor there for 3 years. He was director for 2. And we went out as a group of counselors. He took us out in an evening to the Braille Trail, and he was trying to pursue me, and
Should get running.
and he said, well, just hold on to me and I will take you along the trail. So, like a fool, I did. And so I was sticking out from him a little bit to the left. He was going along the rope, and I was holding on to his left arm. And he forgot that the rope had come loose from a tree on the left-hand side. So when I had my eyes closed and was going along the rope, or up behind him, I ran smack dab into a tree with my head, and we started going together that night. So he tells people that if
You have some sense into it.
yes, yeah, if I come to my senses, he'll just run me into a tree again. But we've been married for 40 years, so it must have
Wow.
stuck. So,
How many children do you have?
two.
Two? Wow.
Two.
Oh.
Yeah.
And 3 grandchildren, and 1 on the way.
Now, I don't know if you saw, noticed or not, but on my website, I had your video that they made last
Oh,
year.
at the church.
Yes, at the church. If you want to go, our website is nietzsche.com, and there's information about him. There's also the video that you can link to it. I found some humorous things that you said in the video about gardening.
Yeah.
That you can garden at night, and
Uh-huh. Yeah.
no problem.
That was an advantage that I had, but I didn't do the trail at night, but I also did a lot of gardening at home, and for about 3 years, I guess, I took care of the sensory garden at the York County Blind Center, which came about after the trail kind of disappeared. Then I think it was the Master Gardeners that started the sensory garden in there, and like the trail, after a while, it just went weeds and everything else, and it needed to be redone. So my brother and I worked on that for about 3 years, and finally got it to the point where it could be redone. But there again, we couldn't get the blind folks, even though they worked there and they walked by it every day, we couldn't get them interested in going and looking at the flowers and the different things that were there. It wasn't a very big garden, but it took a lot of work to keep it up.
I heard in your video as well that you were doing a wedding one time and you forgot to tell the people to sit down.
Yeah, that's one of the things that has happened. Pat and Jan may remember the Ash Wednesday service when I was putting ashes on people's head, making the cross, and one of the gentlemen, Larry, came up, and I didn't know that he had bowed his head, and he was bald. And I put it on the top of his head.
Wow.
Wow, there have been many funny moments too, in 40 years.
I also listened, and I understand that you couldn't tell whether your lights were on or off in your office when people would come in.
Yep, yeah. And then they call me and say, "You left the lights on." No, I didn't turn them on, so I don't have to turn them off. And I'm very fortunate now. My light goes on when I walk in the office, and it goes off when I go out, so automatically. That works very well.
I'm just curious, at what age did you start going blind?
I was blind in the left eye from probably the time I was born, but they didn't find that out until I went to school. And they gave me that eye test and put it up in a patch over my right eye and said, "Which way do the legs of the table go?" And I said, "Well, I can't see the wall." And so they sent me to, of course, the eye doctor, and at that time they thought it was a lazy eye. So they decided that the best thing to do was to put a patch over my right eye, and that would make my left eye come back, which even at 6 years old, I thought that was a pretty dumb idea, but, most of you may remember the desk at school at that time. You could put your books inside. Well, when I go to school, I'd look in there, and then I'd pull a patch away just a little bit that I could see. And most of my first grade year, for a couple of weeks, I played with a truck during the school because I couldn't read the board or anything else. Well, that didn't bring my sight back. And then when I was 13, my left eye began to turn in. And they sent me down to Johns Hopkins Hospital with the thought that surgery would be done to strengthen that muscle and bring my eye back where it should be. But when they did some tests, well, actually not even doing some tests, I had a doctor who at the time was known as the father of ophthalmology at Johns Hopkins, and I can still remember seeing him. He had white hair, and he was old, and he shuffled down the hall, and I thought, I wonder what that old man's here for. And turned out, when I went in the office, sure enough, he was the doctor, and he found that I had a brain tumor, and he told my parents he will not go home tonight, that I had to stay, and a couple days later that I had the surgery. But this was in 1965, so they didn't have MRIs and PET scans and all the other things that they have today. X-ray machine was about all they did, and then also a spinal tap, and that's how they determined. And today, most of the surgery is done, a lot of it's done by going up through the sinuses to do brain surgery. For me, they took this whole part of my head off to do the surgery. So then I was tutored when I came home from school, or came home from the hospital. That was the end of my 7th grade year. In my 8th and 9th grade year, then I was tutored at home. So I had a teacher come once a week. One teacher came for English and history, and another teacher came for science and math. And then when it came time to go to 10th grade, I said, I want to go back to school. And they said, well, we'll send you to the Overbrook School for the Blind in Philadelphia. And I said, no, I want to go to Central. That's where my brother goes, and that's where all my friends go, and that's where I want to go. So they said, well, that hadn't been done before. And they said, we don't know that they're going to let you come back. Well, I don't know if you remember Mr. Ruby. Okay. Well, Mr. Ruby was the superintendent at the time. He was also a Lions member and knew my dad and knew me from the North York Lions Club. So when they went to see him, they were all prepared with arguments of letting me come back to school. And he just simply said to him, well, if he wants to come, let him come. And that was my fight to get back into public school back in 1965. The only thing I could not do at the time was physical education. And that was more, not because of the limitation of the blindness, but because of the surgery. They didn't want me to take physical ed. But I had to take driver's education. At that time, you had to take driver's education to graduate. So I had to take driver's education, and those of you who went to Central, I don't know if you remember Mr. Holt. He was one of the driving teachers, and I can still remember he'd give me, I'd go to his office and to take a test, because I had to do it verbally, and he'd ask me the question, and then he'd give me the answer. And I said, you just gave me the answer. He said, that's all right, you're never going to need this stuff anyway.
How did you do your textbooks and everything? I was just curious.
Back then, in high school, they were mostly done on tape.
Okay.
Cassette tapes.
Cassette.
Reel-to-reel, yeah, at first reel-to-reel, and then cassette, and then I didn't use Braille very much. I used some Braille for my one math class, but I am not a good Braille reader. Had you given me that slide before, it would have been really jerky. Most of what I read and share, like for sermons and things like that, well, sermons I don't write out, but for scriptures, I usually have about 75% of that memorized.
Wow.
Because I'm not a good Braille reader. So I'll remember certain words along the left-hand side, and when I get to that word, then I know what's on the rest of that line. So I am not a good Braille reader. Some of my friends will go, they'll read as fast as you can.
I remember in the video that I watched, you had the New Testament, one of the books of the Bible, and it was
Right.
so
Yeah.
thick,
Yeah,
you could barely lift it.
yeah. Luke, I think I had Luke and John that time, and it's about like that. It's about that thick. Yeah. Takes up a lot. Braille takes up a lot. It's 18 volumes to do the whole Bible. It does take up a lot. Today, a lot of kids don't even know what paper Braille is anymore, because they have what they call refreshable Braille, and it's electronic, so they'll read a line, and I'll push a button, and the next line will come up, push a button, and the next line comes up.
What, it comes up in Braille?
Yeah, yeah, it has, like pins will come up that you feel, and then when you're done with that line, and you push the button at the end, and the pins change and pop up a different display, and that's the way most of the kids read today.
Yeah, interesting.
Again, because textbooks took so much space, and with that, they could have a lot of books, carry a lot of books at one time. But yes, I started out with reel tape, and when I was at home being taught, then I used records that were about like that, the big vinyl records, and then they went to real thin, almost tissue paper thin records. And then after that, then they went to cassette tape after that. And now I download it and put it on my cell phone and read my books right off the cell phone.
How do you read books on your cell phone? I'm just curious.
It
Does something come up, or you just?
speaks.
It speaks.
Yeah,
Okay,
it
just
speaks.
listen.
Yeah, yep, I just listen. If I had a Braille display that would do that, I could also read them in Braille. But since I'm not a good Braille reader, I don't do it that way. But in every state, there's a library for the blind. Pennsylvania has two, one in Pittsburgh, one in Philadelphia. And they have all kind of books. They produce both Braille and recorded books. And every month I would get a list of all the books that they had done that month, and then if there was any I wanted, I checked them off, sent that back, and if they had them, they would mail them to me. So sometimes I got them on record, and sometimes I got them in Braille. The mailman didn't like when I got them in Braille, because they were usually big boxes like that he had to carry. So, but nowadays, I just go on the computer, go to the library, and find out what books are there, and download it in about 5 minutes. It's on my phone, and I read it from there.
Wow.
Yeah, the cell phone today for vision impaired, I think a couple weeks ago I was thinking how many different devices I would have had to carry to do what I now do on my cell phone, and it was 8 different devices. I could even scan print with my phone, so that I take a picture of it, and within a couple seconds it would read it. I could try that if you want to see it.
Wow.
Take picture, button. Take picture. Pause, button. HFB, plus dot, key, pause. Who was a teacher at the Northeastern High School in Wisconsin. And Aspen, Colorado, he was impressed with the Roaring Fork. And in the fall, he suggested to his club members that they Oerwood Nature Center, where they had already developed 2 trails. Trail, the first of its kind in Pennsylvania, was dedicated after Scouts, Mitch Galloway, who was then a blind student. Members have given many hours of work in its development. Club in the Oerwood Nature Club adopted the trail as a club for its maintenance.
It doesn't do 100% accuracy, but pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And when I first, I used a scanner on my desk.
Page
And
document.
it would take, from the time I hit the button to the time it started reading was 5 minutes. And you just saw how quickly that was, about 2 seconds. Just like
Amazing.
that. Yeah, just like that. Yeah. And I have, of course, a GPS system on here, where before there was a dedicated device that the blind would use. It was called Trekker. And it was kind of like, what's the ones that they use now, or used to use? Now they use their
Garmin.
phones. Yeah, Garmin and TomTom and those kind of things. And so that would have been another device, the phone would have been another device, the scanner would have been another device, the clock would have been another different device, the reading machine or the library, the ability to read would have been still another device. I can tell if the lights are on or off in this room but with my phone. That would have been another device that I would have had to carry. And also color detector, yeah, that was another device that I had that's now on my phone. It's not very accurate, but it's there. They haven't perfected that one yet. So there's just so many things that I used to have to carry that nowadays, well, even like the Bible, and nowadays I have probably a dozen Bibles on that phone right now, and could download any at any time. So it's the technology is since 1965 is just really going quickly. And I get a kick out of the kids today because they think it was always there. When I went to Central, and I used to have to braille with a stylus and slate, and I would braille whatever notes I wanted. I got pretty good, pretty fast at it. And after my brother married one of the girls from my class that was in the English class, and she said they used to sit and listen to how many times I tapped when they were taking true-false tests, how many times I would hit the stylus. If it was 4 times, they realized that was a T. If it was 3 times, they realized it was an F. So they would wait until they heard how many times I tapped it, and then they would mark it. If I'd have known that, I'd have really messed them up. But yeah, I used the stylus and slate there, and then like in college, to do a paper, I would have somebody read the material to me, and then I would take that material, make notes of it, and then take those notes and put them into Braille, and then take from that Braille, I would then read onto a tape what I've written, and then I would do the editing on the tape, and then after that I would try to type it out, and I was not a good typist. I'm still not a good typist. But I would type out the paper, and then I'd give it to my roommate, who would type the final paper. And that's the way I did every paper in college. And then when we went to seminary, she was the one that had to do the reading and the typing and the corrections and all those things. So it was a laborious process, but yeah, it worked.
Which seminary did you go to?
United, out in Dayton, Ohio.
Okay.
From 1977 to 1980. And then we came back. Well, we were married before we went to seminary. We were married one Saturday and went to seminary the next Saturday, and spent 3 years out there for seminary. Then came back and started a family.
How did you become a pastor then at Fourth Church?
Fourth Church was my 4th assignment, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah. We came back into the area in 1980, and we served in Chambersburg at St. John's Church for 6 years in 1980. And then we were sent to Belleville, and in our church system, we are appointed to the church that we are to serve. We don't get a chance to say, well, I want to go there, I don't want to go there. Bishop says you go, and you go. So for 6 years, we were in Chambersburg, and then we went to Belleville. I served there for 8 years. And then we came to Dallastown, and I served Dallastown, or Trinity and Adamsville churches in Dallastown. We were there for 8 years. And then we moved into the city for 13 years, and Pat and Jan were part of the congregation in there for 13 years.
Wow.
And so we were in there until 2 years ago, and then they appointed me to go to Winterstown. So we've been at Winterstown, starting my 3rd year as of July.
Wow.
And we'll retire next year.
That's what I was going to ask you, when are you going to retire?
Yeah, next year, yeah.
Wow.
Yep, next year. That'll be 40 years under appointment, and I served in churches 3 years before I went to seminary as a youth and children's director.
Wow.
So those 43 years. The first thing I want to see is pictures of her coming down.
That's right, that's right, that's what it is. Yes.
That's the first thing I want to see. And after that, I want to see every picture that's ever been taken of our kids and our grandkids. And there have been many. And it'll take me a long time to get through them all. They're making a lot of advances with artificial sight nowadays. But for everyone that I've seen so far, you have to have an optic nerve. And I don't have an optic nerve, because the brain tumor had attached itself to the optic nerve, and they had to take the optic nerve along with the tumor. And I asked the doctor one time, you know, is there any chance that that could be replaced or rebuilt? He said it'd be like building a spider web. So, well, I guess that's not going to happen. But they do have, today, they're coming out with some pretty ingenious things to help people that have like partial sight or have, especially people that have had trouble with retina, but still have the optic nerve. There are some devices that are helping them, but they're very, very crude. It's not like they can look at something and see colors and all that kind of stuff. The last ones I read, they could tell like the difference between a telephone and a teddy bear on the table. Well, if that's all the better you can do, you're not playing around with my brain again. So, but who knows? I mean, I used to tell people that there'd be a day when I'd drive a car and they'd all say, nah, that'll never happen. Well, look at what people are doing now with self-driving cars. So I used to say that when they did that, I was going to retire from the ministry and become the first driving instructor for the blind. But I wouldn't trust being on the road. Not because of me, but because of everybody else around me.
When was last year that the Lions Club was taking people there? Do you remember?
Sometime between 90 and 95, probably.
Okay. Rumor has it that a developer was looking to buy the land and develop it to housing.
Okay.
That's what the rumor has it. And that fell through. By the time it fell through, it was already all grown over.
Oh, okay.
I think I remember that.
Yeah.
Do you? Okay. I'm trying to find the actual document, you know, on that and the year, but that's the rumor I heard, you know.
There was also some wetlands back in there that he couldn't develop.
Maybe that's why he couldn't
He
develop
couldn't
it
touch the
there.
wetlands back in there.
I worked at the Wine Center. When I did the garden, I also started the Access Technology program in there for 4 years. I worked part-time with the church and part-time starting the Access Technology program. And he knew very well that all the effort we put into doing the garden, and we couldn't get blind people to even get off the sidewalk and walk around to see the things that were in the garden. I'm sure he thought that, you know, if they can't get off the sidewalk, they're not going to get a ride out to the, you know, out to the nature trail. So, and also today, liability.
Right.
Liability is a big thing today, which wasn't as much in that time. But I know that a lot of them have hesitated because of that.
Number of years, they changed the name to Foresight Vision. And now, if you saw it, there was an article in the Community Courier, and I'm sure there was probably one in the paper, that it's now called Vision Corps. They've yoked with the Lancaster County group and are now part of Lancaster, and it's now Lancaster and York. And York is also York and Adams County, but it was Foresight Vision, now it's called Vision Corps.
Okay. Do you want to say what you do with the property now? Because I don't think he knows.
Well, we bought it in 2003 and we just started restoring the property. It had been left there for quite a while. Now we have weddings on the weekends. Up on the old tennis court, we have a tent. So we use the greenhouse, garden house area as like cocktail hour area. The pool's no longer there, that's a patio.
The greenhouse is still
The
there.
greenhouse is still there, we restored that.
And the pool house, you have the stone garden house?
Yeah, the garden house.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And now they actually think that was built in the 1890s.
Oh, it's old.
Yeah.
Does the spring house still work? It was right behind that?
A spring house?
It was like some kind of a cellar or something. It was in
No,
the
that's
hill.
the root
The
cellar?
root cellar.
Was there water in there?
No, I guess the water was down like in the thing next to the Cole's basement.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, that's
This is your building.
Yeah.
That's still there, and
That's
then the
still there.
spring house in behind the main house.
Yeah, okay.
Now, this here shows a gazebo. There used to be one here, but was that anything remaining there?
That's the bandstand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Is that still
Bandstand,
there?
the remains of it, we've tried to preserve what was left of it.
Yeah, it was in good
And,
shape.
yeah, and then the pond with a fountain
Mm.
is
Right.
there, and the steps going down to the pond,
Right, okay.
and then the walk that goes out to the trolley station out of the road.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that.
Is that new? Because I don't remember.
No, that's been there since.
That's probably buried.
Yeah, it probably was
Yeah, it must have been,
buried.
'cause I don't remember
And
that.
some of it's still, buried, but,
Hmm.
yeah, the one small building was a trolley station, and they would get off, the guests would get off there, and the walk goes through the woods. There was a bridge across the stream. It followed the base of the pond to the stairway below the bandstand, and then up the steps, it would split off. One sidewalk would go to the left to the fountain area, and one to the right to the bandstand area.
Yeah, because the building on the right was the Axe House.
Ice house, right.
The outhouses are still there.
Yeah, we
I think-
kept the outhouses, we haven't touched them.
Yeah,
It's a good photo op.
yeah.
Steve, do you know if that property was originally owned by Colonel James Smith, the signer of the Declaration?
He was the first deed holder, James Smith, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I had heard that.
But weren't they kind of related somehow?
well, Smith was from the 1700s.
Yeah, but I mean, down through. I think
Yeah,
it
I'm not
became a
really
Oh,
small-
I don't know, I didn't know
I
that.
think they got in maybe with the smallest.
Did the Smalls own your?
Yeah, Frederick Small.
That's
Yeah.
how, okay,
1905, he bought it,
okay, that's how it came about.
and then was,
That was small,
yeah.
that's it.
Who are the people that built the house? There's a name on the house.
Jacob and Anna Hake.
Okay,
The
they
Hakes.
were,
Hake's had a distillery,
okay.
and then they built the main house in 1825.
Right, okay.
Well, Ormonds lived there too, didn't they, at one point?
Yeah, 1948, the Ormonds bought the property.
Yeah, because I was talking to one friend of mine and her like ancestors were Hake. She was related somehow.
Oh, okay.
I never followed down through, but.
Now, the Smalls, was that just their summer home or
It
something?
was their summer home. They lived on East Market Street. They had a little mansion in there, I guess. And then Mr. Free, who was his neighbor, owned it from 1885 to 1905 and sold it to Mr. Small. And they think he's the one that built the greenhouse, garden house, because that was apparently laid up by Italian stonemasons. And Mr. Free had Italian stonemasons build his mansion in York. And they think that they might have sent him over to build that.
To do that.
And there was just one greenhouse, right?
Two. There was
Still.
another one behind.
I know there was at least two, because there was remnants when we were there digging out, and we said, oh, we're not doing a whole
Yeah,
other one.
we're never done picking the glass out.
Yeah, I knew there was at least two. I wasn't sure if it was two or three.
You know, the map says the Braille Trail was just on that one side, it was the whole way around?
There was other trails.
There were other
So,
trails.
But is the Braille Trail just to one side?
Yeah.
Right, yes.
Okay.
Well, that doesn't make sense to me, because on this map, the Braille Trail is on the other side of Shady Lane, where we found nothing, but we found all the plaques on this side.
Yeah.
So,
They-
It was also
somebody
the other
moved
side.
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, as
Yeah,
you went into the property, it was to the right.
Is that right?
The blacks were all back into where the bridge was.
Well, everything we found was on the other side.
Okay.
Somebody moved in there.
Somebody down there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Were the posts and everything there? They were in the ground, weren't they?
Posts were in the ground,
And some of them had the ropes on.
and some had ropes, yeah, they didn't go anywhere, but they were still hanging there. Yeah, that's strange.
Yeah, somebody moved it.
Somebody must have moved it at some point, because it was on the right-hand side as you went into the lane.
Right.
Would be interesting to know when or how it got moved over to the other side of the road.
Yeah,
That would be interesting.
We'll have to
Because the signs wouldn't have been, the environment wouldn't have been the
You
same.
wouldn't, I know. I wonder if they're different signs.
Well, this is one of the signs, wasn't it, that you
Yeah,
gave me?
that's one of the signs.
Yeah.
And that
that's-
was right outside of the greenhouse.
Because I remember the one Braille sign said, feel the bark on this tree, and then it told you what kind of bark it was, and.
In the late 80s, they were all east of the road.
Yeah.
When the Lions Club went in to work on it, they were all to the east of the road,
Yeah.
or north, whichever you want to call it.
Yeah. Mhm.
I remember Dad talking about that.
So maybe somebody tried to resurrect it at some point and not have to do so much work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would be confusing, reading the sign, then
Yeah.
down through the water when there's no water there.
Yeah, they might have had to delete a couple signs.
Yeah.
Well, see, the one article in here from, oh, this is the picture though of that one in the article, in 2016 article here. Let's see, is there any other ones that were, I don't really see any other, oh, here we go. Well, see, the one on 1971, see, the Braille's on one side, it's a two-page thing.
Which one did that?
That's on the third or fourth page there. Page 14. The Braille's on one side and the words are on the other side. See, it's a two-sided thing.
Larger marker.
Yeah, marker 13.
Yeah.
And then there's,
like right next to one another.
yeah,
Yeah.
where this one's on top of, you know what I'm saying? I don't know.
So on top of the print?
Yeah, the print is on top. The
and-
print's on top of the Braille.
Well, that's
Oh,
a
okay.
welcome to the,
Yeah.
Right.
maybe in
Here.
Did you find anything like this, Steve?
I think we have one double.
You have one double?
Yeah, and it had like plastic or something over the.
Because I don't know, you know, I'm just wondering if these were a remake.
Well, how do you guys remember them? Were they side by side on all of them, or just?
I remember them side by side.
And all of them?
Oh,
Yeah.
See, that one isn't, that one's top and bottom.
well,
Right.
but it's
Unless
a
they-
welcome to the,
Yeah, but he has
Real,
more,
so
but he has
maybe-
more like that.
yeah,
Yeah,
Hmm.
most of them are just single.
maybe,
Yeah.
depends
Yeah.
on how much wordage they should get on.
Well, I don't know, but,
Yeah.
you know, but Mitchell remembers them all side by
They were
side.
all side by side, as I remember.
They might have been recreated. For
Yeah.
size.
Yeah, it's possible.
Hmm.
If that's the case, the old ones may still be over there. It's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
thick over there.
Yeah.
If we could find the beginning of the trail, that would be neat.
Yeah,
know.
that would be.
Well,
I
follow-
knew where the beginning of it was for the last set of signs, but
Uh-huh. Yeah.
on the other side,
It was at the very back.
Yeah.
Right at the corner.
Next to
Right
the
at the
field.
corner, yeah.
Yeah,
And then
it
it
was
was
right
like-
next to the field,
It was
yeah.
like, maybe you could have maybe parked 2 cars or something there,
Yeah.
and then the trail started.
Yeah. Yeah.
in the back of the greenhouse.
No,
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 up
yeah,
all
side of the
at the
road.
end of the property, along, when you're going up the dirt road,
Okay.
where the field starts to the next property.
Oh, okay.
Where your woods ends, there was a parking, and it was just dirt, it wasn't macadam or anything, and you could park like 2 cars and then
Now
the
it's like a
trail.
turnaround there. It's actually just outside of my property.
It was just on this side of the
Yeah,
property,
okay.
your property, and then it started right there, so like, they could bring, you probably even pull a bus in there then, at that time,
Yeah.
and then you could start right down the trail.
Oh, my.
What page did you say that Mitch was on? So everybody can see his younger picture?
Oh, one of the first ones.
What, page 15? The third?
Yeah, page 15. Yeah, he's up in there. And this lady, we think is probably one of his rehab teachers. Not
Okay.
a Braille.
Yeah, she was also blind, and she was at the trail a couple of times. Yeah. Thank you for trying to keep it alive.
Oh, no, thank you.
So I use a cane. You see me with my cane. This is a collapsible one. And I went to rehab school for 15 weeks out in Pittsburgh and learned how to use my cane. And I am able to travel by myself and have traveled by myself, like in Dayton, Ohio, and not too much in New York, other than to get from my house to my office, which is just across the street. So I do use a cane. However, when I'm with you, I would prefer to use human guide, because if I use a cane, I have to concentrate too much on what I'm doing. If I go human guide, I can simply follow where you're going. Carol will demonstrate that. Didn't want that. Okay. I simply take a hold of your right arm, and she leads me this way. If we get to a tight area, she puts her arm behind her, and I get right behind her. And that way we can get through tight spaces. She doesn't have to tell me I'm going right or left. I simply follow her arm. Now, I've followed that arm for 40 years now, so I get to know the way she turns and things like that. Pretty good. If you come to a door, it's usually helpful if you say like pull right or push right or pull left. That way I know which way to hold my hand out and get the door. If you come to a step, you step down and you wait until I find the step, because I still have to find it. You can't keep going or I'm going to fall on my face because I've got a hold of you and I haven't found the step yet. So it is good if you stop or if you step off the curb. That way I know where the curb is. So that's the way that I will travel with you most of the time. I may have my cane with me, but as we're traveling, if we're going to have any kind of conversation, it's better if I go human guide with you. And the thing to remember is, be relaxed. Okay? I walk with people who hold their arms down like that. That doesn't help me at all because you're too stiff. I want you to be relaxed, to use your hand or whatever. I do not squeeze your arm tightly. Sometimes I've taken a hold of people's arms and they don't even know that I have a hold of them yet. Because the lighter I feel things, the more I can detect what Carol is doing or the person I'm walking with is doing. So that's called human guide, and that is the way that I will travel with you as we are traveling. If we're going to get to a chair, best thing to do is stand in front of the chair and put my hand on the back of the chair, and then I know where to sit down. We come to the car, I like opening or closing the door myself so that I know where it's at. And the hardest thing is getting out because they put those handles at different places in different cars. So I have to search for them sometimes. I've been asked, how much help should you give me? That depends. I can't tell you you should never help me, but I will tell you that if I think I can do it myself, I will. Right? And please do not be offended if I say to you, that's okay, I can do it myself. Okay? Because I need to do that. If I depended upon you to do everything, I wouldn't know what skills God has given me and the abilities that I still have. So I do try to do things by myself, but there are times when I really do appreciate your assistance in getting around or helping me to find something or read something. That is very, very helpful. People say, you know, what do you do at home? Carol can answer that question if she'd like. She'll answer any of your questions too. She answers the ones that I can't answer. So if you have questions, you can ask her too. But around the house, try not to be too much different than any other man that is able to see. Now, of course, Carol has to do all the driving. I'm the navigator. So when we go somewhere, I usually, now with the cell phone, I just say, Siri, get us to such and such a place. And it tells me how to get there. But she does all of the driving. Yep. And at home, she does all the cooking. I can cook. She says I'm a religious cook because everything I make either comes out of burnt offering or a sacrifice. If there's repairs that need to be made and I feel that I can make them, I'll do that. If there's things that need to be done, she does the laundry because I just throw it all in at one time. So she does the laundry, but I do the dishes. I wash them, she dries them. Okay? I do, most of the time, do the vacuuming because she doesn't like me to do the dusting because I knock everything over. So I can do the vacuuming and she does dusting. So we try to do, I try to do as much as I possibly can. And there are things that I'm limited that I cannot do that I have to ask other people to help out with. Or we like traveling to historic sites, and we like traveling to gardens. Again, because I can remember what flowers look like. And she describes them to me, and sometimes I can feel them. And then I can get in my mind how I would, what I would do with them if they were in my garden. So Longwood Gardens is a place that we like to go to quite often throughout the year and enjoy those things. When our children were little one time, we went down to National Zoo in Washington, D.C. And I'll never forget, a gentleman came up to me and he said, "Why did you come here?" And I said, "Well, why?" And he said, "Well, you can't see anything here." I said, "Because my family's here. Because my wife was there, my children were there, and I didn't want to miss those experiences." And I can't say to Carol, "Well, we can't do that," if it is something indeed we can do. She still hasn't taught me how to play tennis yet, but most things we do together. We like to travel together, and like I said, we like to go to gardens like that. And we tell everybody the story, and it's actually a true story. For my Eagle Scout project, I helped the Northeastern Ecology Club build a Braille Trail out in the Amy'sville area. And part of the trail was you hold onto a rope, you follow around, and you could see different things. And I told the counselors, to go ahead, hold the rope and follow the rope, but I wanted to walk with her. So I said, "Hey, how about you take my arm and I'll lead you. You don't need to take a hold of the rope. I know my way around here." Well, what I forgot was at one point there was a tree that came out over the trail. If you held the rope, you went around it. If you didn't, you walked into it. Guess who walked into it? After that, she started holding